And I have to be completely honest with you. I was so scared to drop that video. I was scared to record it, even after it was recorded and after it was edited and sent to me. I sent it to my friends, like, please check. Is this okay? Because my friends kept saying to me, are you sure you want to share the story already? Hello, hello, hello. Woo! I've missed saying that. You guys, last month, a month ago, literally, I released my birthday video. And I have to be completely honest with you. I was so scared to drop that video. I was scared to record it, even after it was recorded and after it was edited and sent to me. I sent it to my friends, like, please check. Is this okay? Because my friends kept saying to me, are you sure you want to share the story already? Are you ready? It was a lot. I was so scared to share it. But then I did. And I just want to say thank you. And the reason I'm thanking you is because you became a very soft landing for my vulnerability. I think as you watch the video, and I will link it here so you're able to see the video if you don't know what I'm talking about. What happened with that video, what happened with the story, and I don't want to say the main story because every year's story was great, right? But the one I was most scared of, when you saw that video, when you saw that part, it just stirred up something in you that I did not think would happen with me sharing that story. And I'm sharing this with you because today I want to talk about the power of owning your story. When I tell you that I was scared to record that video, I was scared for a number of reasons, right? Number one was, this is my story. I don't want people to know what happened. Oh my goodness. I need to keep it to myself. Number two, while I was ready to share, my family wasn't. So I was scared for what my mom would think. In fact, when the video dropped, I was with my mom and she hadn't seen it. And I think a day or two later, I was like, let's just watch this thing. And my mom was like, oh my goodness, what is that caption? What is that thumbnail? And when she watched, she was like, no, man, you spoke well. There was no blame shifting. There was no finger pointing. You took accountability. And that is what my friend said as well, right? But I was also scared for my ex to see it because I was like, oh, will the insults and the offense and the disrespect come? And it has. It's heightened, but it's okay. I'm taking it in my stride. The parts of the story that I'm sharing are mine. I am in no way vilifying anybody. I am in no way making myself a saint. This is my story and my journey that I'm sharing, and it's done so much for people. It's made people feel like they're not alone in their disappointments, in their own sadness. And let me tell you, the number of people that have emerged to say, oh my gosh, that happened to you as well. It's such a common thing. So here's what happens when you're going through something, right? You think that you are alone. That, oh my gosh, Jesus hates me. Nobody else knows this thing. But it's up until you share the story and you let people know that other voices come in and they say, listen, I've been there. This is what I did and look at me now. So I really want to talk to you guys today about the power of owning and, if you can, sharing your story. The first thing I want to say is it requires a lot of self-awareness. As I said initially, I am not using the story to vilify anybody or to make anyone look bad because I will get no joy by exposing anyone or making someone seem like a bad person. There's no joy that I'll derive from that. I don't rejoice in wickedness. My delight is in the Lord and in not making anybody feel bad. So when you're self-aware, you're able to put yourself in the story and say, okay, this is what happened to me. What was my contribution in this? What was out of my control in this? And what am I learning from this? So a lot of what I'm sharing is basically my learnings from the story. I don't go into detail for a reason because there's a lot that went on. But then again, there is no reason for people to know all those details. All they need to know is the lesson. And that is what I'm sharing, right? So it really requires a lot of self-awareness as well as authenticity. So I recently preached at Calvin, the video you saw last week. And a lot of the feedback that came was, Mpumi, that was a sermon, yes, but so much about that sermon was authentic. You shared your story showcasing your full personality. You know, people got to see the relationship I have with God. They got to hear my story from a very strong point of view, not from a victim. And even if that was the case, even if I felt like a victim and I was sad and I was crying, that would have still been okay, because it is my authenticity and it is my truth in sharing the story. So not only do you need to be self-aware to see, what did I do? Irrespective of what was done to me, what was the part that I played? What could I have done better? What better did I did that didn't even translate, but I'm still here in this situation? Self-awareness, but also authenticity. It allows you to really be who you are, and to not be ashamed of what that story is, right? And let me tell you about the power of owning your story. Firstly, empowerment. Your story empowers you. And I think for me, it's because I'm generally curious, right? So when things happen to me, especially when that thing happened to me, I was like, Lord, help me understand what's going on. Was it me? Was it the other person? Was it you? Was it the devil? And asking those questions and being very curious was so great for me, because God empowered me with perspective and insight. And that is really what owning your story does. It empowers you. The second thing it does is that it allows for healing and growth. Oh, I had told myself that I'm not going to share the story. And maybe this is the second and the third point. So the third thing that happens is it helps you overcome fear and shame. So I was very adamant that nobody will know about the story, because I felt so much shame. How do you get into a relationship? It progresses to an engagement and you're going to get married very soon, and then suddenly things don't happen anymore. I was so ashamed of what my friends would think of me. Would say, hey, when I see your relationships are not relationshiping, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? I was ashamed for my family, that my family, the extended family that is, would be like, hey, Mpumi, we even came, we did all the things that needed to be done. What's going on with you? Oh, I was really ashamed. And I had a fear of people seeing me a certain way, right? Because a lot of the times I'm told, oh, you're such a powerhouse, so inspirational. But now here I come, sharing this massive blow, this huge disappointment. And I just had to take it in my stride. I had to come on here and be like, this is what happened to me. So apart from the fact that it really helped me get over the shame and the fear, it really, really helped with my healing and my growth. The fact that I'm able to stand up and share what happened, or sit down and record what happened, has really, really healed me. So I used to be a person who, and this was when I was still in varsity, whenever something happens, I'm posting on my status and everybody literally knows what's going on with me, whether good or bad. And it got me into a lot of trouble. But then when I grew up, I realized how foolish that thing is. And then I realized that the reason I was doing it was because it was very cathartic for me to get it out of my system. So now what happens, and people don't know this, is if I've got a thought in my mind or I'm very frustrated, I'll record the Instagram story or I'll write the WhatsApp status, and shortly after that delete it. Because that's what happens, right? When it's out of your system, it feels very cathartic, it's very healing, it's very soothing. And so this time, when I stand up and I share, there's no taking it back. And I'm very intentional in how I'm sharing the story as well, that it helps other people, it empowers other people, and it helps with my healing and my growth. Nowhere are you going to hear me lambast anybody or minimize my own experience, or make it seem like it's not a thing when it really is, because it really is a thing. It's a difficult thing to go through. It still is. Even post the engagement no longer working out, it's still a very difficult thing to go through. But the fact that I'm sharing it, and I'm sharing it in the way that I'm sharing it, is really helping with my healing and my growth. And I want you to see the power of owning your story, in that it really helps you to get rid of shame, get rid of fear. There's a lady called Jeannie Mai. I know her from a show that used to air in America some years back. And she had this saying that said, own you before they do. And that's the power of owning your story, right? You own yourself and your story before somebody else comes out to embarrass you or expose you or to make you feel some type of way, because you've owned the story. It really goes a long way. And now I want to talk about how your story can impact other people. The first thing is inspiration. I have to be very honest with you. When the thing that happened to me happened, One of the very first things I did, apart from speaking to God and speaking to my friends, my close friends, and my mom more especially, is that I went onto YouTube and I tried to find stories of other people who went through what I went through. There was a part of what I went through that I found, and another part that I didn't. But the part that I did really, really gave me strength and courage. It made me feel like I'm not alone. And that's the beauty of sharing your story. It's that it inspires other people to know that they are not alone in their pain, to know that they are not alone in their disappointment, to see somebody else who's considered great actually not doing great. It's so amazing to know that other people are human too, because the things we see online really put people on a pedestal. And I believe for the most part, people have put me on a pedestal. And not that I've got a problem with it, because it really helps in keeping me accountable. It really helps in making sure that I'm on the straight and narrow. So for people to see me, and I know that I'm making this a lot about me, but I'll come back to you. For people to see me and think, Haibo, this grand girl is also being knocked by life, really inspires them to say, oh, okay, I guess there are ebbs and flows. And when I'm in my trough, like she's in her trough, I can always get up and get to my peak. And so whether you think you are a significant person in society or not, I promise you, sharing your story is truly an inspiration to other people. Somebody out there will resonate with your story. And even if you and I share the same story, because it's me, they just won't get it. But because it's you and the way you share it and your angle and your point of view, it'll resonate with them better than my story would resonate with them. Another thing I noticed is that it really helps with building connections. There's a friend of mine. Oh, there's a friend of mine, and we are really starting to build a connection now because of what happened. So I shared my story with a group of my friends, and then I went on to, and I didn't really share the story as it is, but I shared a part of it, right? A viewpoint of it. And after she heard it, she sat me down and she's like, when you first shared this thing with me, I was so tempted to give you my own story, but I thought it wasn't yet time. And then that day, she did. And I was like, what is going on? Why does it read like the same script as mine? And so many other people, a friend that I had from primary school, have come to me to say, yo, let me tell you. And we've been exchanging notes. It's literally like we are the same person in the same, we are different people in the same story. It's crazy. But it's really helped to build those bonds. Her and I are getting closer and closer. And also when I do share any part of my story, but recently this one, people call me to the side and they're like, let me tell you what happened with me. Thank you for sharing that, because now it really, really helps to build connections. So if you want to build connections with your community, or if you really want to start building something of substance, it may really require you to start sharing your story, because it really, really, really builds connections. The final thing that I want to say is your story will create change. I think it was 3 years ago, I can't even remember when, or when I started really working in my business, that I shared a picture of my graduation and I said, this was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, but it wasn't. And I share why. I was graduating with a BSc mining engineering degree when I knew that I'm for people, not coal and not that, right? I knew that I'd been conferred with an honors degree in something that really didn't resonate with me. And when I shared that story, so many people came out of the woodworks like, this is me. Oh my gosh, Mpumi, what do I do? And sharing that story really catapulted my business. It grew it into what I know it to be now. And even with this, I'm realizing the power that is being injected in me. I'm realizing the platform that I'm being elevated to, because I'm brave enough to share the story. If you want to create change, start by sharing your story. Because here's what I know about our stories: they change us. So the change already happens in you, right? When you're going through the experience, or when you're reflecting about the experience, and when you're growing from the experience. But what you don't realize is once you have gone through those stages, and even if you're still going through those stages, your story has the power to really create change. Now, there's an exercise I do with my clients in my program, Purpose to Profession. By the way, the waitlist is opening soon. And if you want to be in the October cohort, now is the time to join the waitlist. The demand has been great, but I really want to make sure that it's an intimate group and I'm able to get in their business and really transform their careers the best way I know how. So one of the exercises we do is called the purpose story. And I've had mixed reactions with this particular, it's not a module, it's a bonus because it's so powerful. So others cry because it really helps them reflect on where they've been. Others are just like, oh my gosh, I'm so inspired. This is where I've been. This is who I've become. But it's such a great tool. And I'm going to share it. I'm going to share a bit of it with you. And if you want to explore it some more and really do it for yourself, get into the waitlist, get onto the waitlist so you can get into the program when it finally opens. So a purpose story is divided into 3 segments, right? The first one is your beautiful beginning. So this is where you're established as the hero of your story, right? We hear your background, who you are, what you're about, and all of those things. And then we come to a place where now you have the value of decision making, where you have to decide, where do I go? Most times, decision isn't always great. And that is what gets us into our messy middle. Now here is where we are being juked by life. It is really, you know what I'm talking about, right? When it's really, really difficult and you have to deal with the consequences of your decision. But then something happens that really lights the switch in your mind and you realize, that's what this was about. That's what this means. And you start coming into your own. And that's where we get to the exciting end, where like a phoenix, you are rising and everything is making sense and you're capitalizing and using the very lessons that came with your beautiful beginning, with your messy middle that is now leading to your exciting end. And a lot of the times my clients say, "Mpumi, I don't think I'm yet at my exciting end because I don't know my purpose yet. Isn't the purpose the exciting end?" And I'm like, dig a bit deep. And the more we continue with the modules, the more they realize, I've been at my exciting end all along. I just didn't know that that's what it was. And so this is how you then start thinking about your story, right? What is your beautiful beginning? What is the messy middle? And what is the exciting end? And here's what you'll realize. Every story you've seen, and the story that I love the most on television or on the big screens is The Lion King. Every story you've ever watched, every book you've ever read starts that way. The hero is established, and then the hero gets into trouble, and then the hero gets an epiphany. Like in the story of The Lion King, there's a day where Simba goes to the pond, and that, I forgot the name of the baboon, says to him while he's looking at his reflection or his dad's reflection in the pond, remember who you are. And for a lot of the characters we see, there's that, hi man, this is who I am. And then it gets back to the exciting end. And that's how I want you to think about your story. And when you do decide to share it in that format, not to make yourself seem like a victim. And if you are, please share that. It's okay. Not to vilify anybody or to embarrass anyone, because guys, there's really no reason to be messy and share. Absolutely no reason to be messy in sharing our stories. And share your story. I'm going to repeat that. Share your story, not anybody else's, because if it's a story to share, the people who have the story will share it. Yours is not to embarrass people. Yours is not to expose people. Yours is not to shame other people. It is to share your story and how it has grown you. So yeah, I hope that has encouraged you to really own your story. Guys, there are beautiful things that happen to us. There are very painful, shameful things that happen to us, but own every piece of your life. Own every piece of your life. We love embracing the good, but the negative and the bad we want to shove under the rug or we want to run away from. All of those things shape you. All of those things make you. Own every piece of your story. And then pray for the courage to be able to share that story, because you just don't know what it will do for the other person. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know a lot of you may not have gone to the end of the video, and if you haven't, we'll put it again up here so that you can go and watch. But more than anything, I don't share these things because my life has suddenly become a circus and I want to entertain you. It's not about that. It's because I really have realized the power and potency of sharing your story. it really uplifts other people. It heals you. It grows you. And so have the courage to share your story, because it will really, really, really change someone's life. Thank you again for being a soft landing for my vulnerability, for embracing my story in the way that you did, and for using my story as your platform to elevate and to grow. I appreciate you greatly. That's it for this video. Like, comment, share, all of those things. And the way you guys shared that video, out of this world. It's the best performing video we have on the channel, and it's because I owned my story. Had I not owned that story, I don't know what would have happened, but I did. And it's come with its own backlash. Not from you guys. You guys are darlings. It's come with its heartache. It's come with its headache. But I promise you, the journey I went through and what the story has done for other people, it was totally worth it. I will see you next week, maybe with another story. I don't know. Guess I'm a storyteller now. But I'll see you next week. Bye!